Good evening. It's the end of the weekend, so for most of you, it's work tomorrow. But I just wanted to do this video quickly. It'll only be a short one, but watch it till the end because I want to speak to you about a new player in all of this. Well, a new player to me anyway. Goes by the name of Andy Saxon. So first of all, I wanted to talk to you about what's happening with inside the movement. So you've seen over the last couple of days, you've seen Paul Thorpe put video out. You've seen Andy in Spain, Andy Saxon put a video out, and you've seen Richard Inman put a video out. Now, this should ring true with everybody. Something is afoot, something is wrong, and I'm hoping that one of them tells you the truth in the coming weeks or days even, because they haven't told you the truth so far. So let's start with Paul Thorpe and his friend Andy Saxon. Now, they both released a video. And since then, Paul Thorpe has released another video. So the first two was something's gone on. We're coming away from the movement. We don't want anything to do with politics anymore. We're coming away and I'm coming over to live in Spain. One-way ticket. I'm out of there. Yeah. And then Andy in Spain says a similar thing. Obviously, he's in Murcia anyway. And they'll get together at some point and they'll do a joint. It'll probably be a super chats, knowing Paul. But they'll get together soon and do this this reveal of what's been going on. But if it runs a similar theme as what we saw today with Paul Thorpe's second video, then it's just going to be more lies, if you like. So Paul Thorpe's second video went along the lines of that he is being pressured by the establishment and all that kind of thing. That's not the real reason why they're all jumping ship. And you're probably going to see a lot more players within that movement all jumping ship. Listen, I'm not going to tell you what's going on because you wouldn't believe me even if I did. You know, you'll start with all your nonsense, those that don't believe in anything that I've said up until now. But what I will say is if you're not starting to question things now, knowing what you know now after these three high-profile people within the movement, then you really are blinkered. You really are blinkered. So I'm looking forward to Paul Thorpe and his mate Danny getting together. Like I said, it'll probably be a super chat. Paul loves a super chat. So please donate, help him on his way. Maybe so he can afford to get a return ticket back from Benidorm. So that's that. And then we move on to Richard Inman. Similar narrative. But notice that Richard Inman didn't say anything about Paul Thorpe or Danny Saxon, and likewise the other two, they didn't reference Richard Inman. So is there a falling out there? I'll leave you to decide that. So Richard Inman along the same sort of lines. You know, he's done his years, he's done his time. He wants a quiet life now, and he needs to put things right with all the stuff that he's done wrong. Now, I got lambasted for telling people exactly what Mr. Inman had done wrong and obviously got the abuse that followed. So it sounds like his wife is going to give him a second chance. So best of luck to them with that. And Richard Inman's probably been a bit more truthful with that side of things than what the other pair have. However, still not telling the real truth. Because don't get me wrong when I say this, this whole house of cards is all coming down. I can assure you that. And every single one of you that has blindly followed the movement, Richard Inman, Paul Thorpe, etc., I would be pissed if I was you. All those donations, all that faith, and a sign of trouble, and they're all jumping ship. If it was me, I would say they've taken me for a mug, you know. All these years of marching, donations, this, that, and the other, and what have you got to show for it at the end of the day? I can't stress enough that these guys, or no one person, is going to save the UK. Quite simply because the people that you trust in have got no intentions to save the UK. All they've got intentions of are lining their pockets. I got attacked a little bit yesterday because I mentioned a few things. Carla piped up a little bit, and Donna S piped up a little bit as well. Quite funny. So listen, all I implore you to do is just please start asking questions. please stop believing what they're telling you, because they're not telling you the truth. And you'll see in the coming weeks how this all unfolds. And I will be vindicated. And whether you want to, say anything about it or not, I don't really care, because the people that have been abusive and death threats and all the good stuff, you're not worth my time anyway. I've only ever done this for the people that are putting money into buckets, the people that raised an awful lot of money in a dead man's name, which is still to be resolved. But things are happening. You can if you don't believe me on anything else, you can surely see that something is happening. Something's not right. I've had a couple of messages actually since this all started happening. I'm not going to name who they are, but both females, and both saying, do you know what, Mark? I'm so sorry for having a go at you a couple of weeks back, or however long it goes back, because I'm actually starting to get a little bit concerned now myself. We had a little back and forth, and that was that. I've got no malice against anybody really. So all I ask you to do is just start asking those questions. You should be pissed. These people have been working on this grift for years and years, and now they're just jumping ship. No real explanation, no nothing, and nothing's been achieved. So we'll see what happens when Tommy comes out. Now, brought to my attention yesterday was another guy. I mentioned him at the top of the show, named Andy Saxon. Now, the reason I want to talk about Andy Saxon, because Andy Saxon was yesterday, actually, or it might have been a couple of days ago. I'll see in a second when I share the screen with you. Championed this YouTube video that has come out with regards to me, the tosser that is Paul Bates, and the bricklayer, and a couple of other people. Yeah, but I was put into that video, and he was championing it, saying, "Well." Actually, just have a look at his page. Hopefully, that's all coming up for you there. So this is his page. So this is the well. This is eye-opening. Infiltrators of the movement. It's ripe, it seems. Selling a pack of lies to the Sun newspaper at Tommy Robinson New Area, and you're lower than a snake's belly. Well, Andy, that's just put a bit of attention to you, my friend. The reason it's put a bit of attention to you is because when I was talking to the tosser, that is Paul Bates, Paul Bates told me an awful lot of stuff about you. Before I go back onto screen, I just want to go through his posts at the moment. So there's the next grift in September 2025, free speech event. Listen, I wouldn't be going to it, and I certainly won't be putting any money in any buckets if you go to it. Andy's at this children demonstration yesterday, which is good to see. Watching Chris Eubank Ben, as I did last night, was never 116 to 112, by the way. And there we have him posting about my old friend Paul Bates. Now, I just want to get one thing clear here, and there's the other one there. So let me just come off that a second. So the one thing I want to get clear here is people that were sending me messages yesterday saying, "Oh, Paul Bates has sent you this, and this." Absolutely, categorically no. I would not piss on that man if he was on fire after what he did to me. Yeah, the guy is a prize prick. We had a back and forth after all this went on, and I realised what sort of a man he is. So you're wrong on that occasion. However, Paul Bates has told me some stuff previously when we were working together on this big groundbreaking newspaper article, which didn't say that I thought it would say. And let me clarify this as well. I never said it was a pack of lies and that we just made it all up. What I said is there's no proof, which I thought there was based on what everybody else was telling me. So I was quite comfortable that was the case, because I'd been in contact with Angela Lynch and she had said the same thing to me. I didn't know that there was a police investigation going on, and this is why I'm still hell-bent on exposing that and find this missing money, and for Urban Scoop and to the movement to do the right thing and pay the family what they are owed, because it's a lot more than £1,000. Anyway, back to Andy Saxon. So Andy Saxon, by posting this crappy YouTube video that's obviously been put together by a couple of snotty teens, what you've done is you've now made me just want to reply to that. So what I'm going to tell you is based on conversations I had with Paul Bates back when. Okay. So Andy Saxon portrays himself as a Christian, like all of them do. Like all of them do. But Christians don't go around cheating on their wives for 6 years, do they now? No, they do not. And Christians don't snort cocaine now, do they not, Andy? I'll come back to that bit. So, I'm in contact with a guy called Mad Pete. And Andy, if you're watching this now, you know exactly what I'm going to be saying. So, Mad Pete, if anybody doesn't know, was one of Dave Courtney's inner circle. Big gangster, big in his day, but still not to be messed with now. So, Mad Pete and Paul Bates were invited to a premiere. Now, this was in Beeston in Nottingham for an expose on a celebrity nonce who was Hugh Edwards. And this was the first part of this. And this is Gurumit Singh, by the way. This is his big expose, somebody that's already been exposed. You cannot make it up. Anyway, Paul Bates and Mad Pete go off to this shindig. Yeah. And at said party, Mad Pete got on really well with Andy Saxon. Okay. And he was talking to him about these medals, these war medals that he's got. Andy Saxon says to Mad Pete, because they're getting on really well, well, I tell you what, why don't you come to the rally on the 1st of Feb? Now, bearing in mind, this was a week beforehand. Beast in Nottingham, Gurumit Singh's cocaine party. Why don't you come to the rally on the 1st of February, and why don't you show off your medals? You know, everybody would love to see them. You know, the boys would love to see them. I think it'll be really good. Now, what Paul Bates tells me is like Mad Pete is a very proud man, and he thought, you know what, I got on well with him. He was chuffed to bits, absolutely chuffed to bits that he'd been invited to show the people within the movement these medals. Yeah. So anyway, let's go on a week to the 1st of February. It's the rally day. Now, Paul Bates, from what he tells me, was taking the crowd from the rear, which probably isn't far from the truth, to be honest. And Mad Pete's turned up. So Mad Pete, he's got all these medals nice and shiny. Yeah. He's actually gone out and got new ribbon for these medals. And he's turned up on the day in a suit. Yeah. People that were there, you might have spotted him, or you know that I'm talking the truth when you say that he was there. He was wearing a big trench coat, and he's got his medals pinned onto his jacket. So off he goes down to the stage, and then he's stopped. Not only is he stopped, he's told to fuck off. And Pete's like, well, you told me to go. He goes, fuck off. You're not welcome. And everybody was laughing at Pete. So you can imagine the embarrassment. You know, he's got all dressed up to the nines because somebody said, come and show your medals. Obviously, that somebody was Andy Saxon. And do we know, ladies and gentlemen, who it was that told him to fuck off? That's correct. Andy Saxon. That's a despicable thing to do. Now, you'll get confirmation of this because Mad Pete's going to be joining me on a podcast very soon. So it'll be straight from the horse's mouth. And those people that are aware of him and his people will know that he's a man of honor, and he says it how it is, and he tells no lies. That's going to come from his mouth in the coming weeks, because that's a shitty story anyway. And he could tell me about what he experienced that day and what this sap, Andy Saxon, did to him. On the same day, part of the security team was a guy, a black guy, called, I don't know this one, Big Jeff. Big Jeff, big black guy. And he's part of the security team. Now, Big Jeff had a bag with him, and he wanted to go and put it down the front near the stage. And when he got close to the stage, guess what? He was told to fuck off. You're not welcome here. You're not putting your bag there. Now fuck off. And can we guess, ladies and gentlemen, who it was telling him to fuck off? Correct. The sap, Andy Saxon. And not only does it stay at two people here, we've now got the third person, which is widely known. that person being Bricklayer, whose event yesterday went off without a hitch, apart from the argy bargy afterwards in the pub. We know who we're talking about there, don't we, Tony? And don't we, Carla? I call her Clara online. I find it funny. So then you've got the Bricklayer. Now, all Bricklayer was doing was taking a disabled woman from point A down to the disabled area. He too was told to fuck off, and I'm fully aware that there was a bit of a thing there. He was told to fuck off by whom? That's right, our Christian friend, Andy Saxon. Not very good. Not very good at all. Now you might just think, oh, fucking shut up, Mark. He's only telling people to fuck off. When you tell a guy, you know, who's in his 60s to come down with your medals, come and show him to all the lads, and then tell him to fuck off and humiliate him in front of people, that's despicable, very unchristian thing to do. When you tell a guy that he can't actually put his bag near the stage, now I'm not going to insinuate any racism or anything like that, but he was told to fuck off. You're not welcome down here. Fuck off, basically. Andy Saxon again. And then we've got this Bricklayer story, which is conflicting. But I've spoken to the lady that he was helping that day. So I'm quite happy that what has been said is actually what happened. And that's he was trying to take a disabled lady to the disabled area. And obviously you'll get the tards that will say otherwise. But I've spoken to that disabled lady and I believe that to be true. I've spoken to Bricklayer as well. And... you know, I've got no reason to discount it, you know. So that's in the public domain anyway. So then we move back to the party. Now, back at the party, this wasn't just a premiere. This was a cocaine party ran by Guru Amit Singh. Now, Mr. Bates tells me that Andy Saxon likes to stay awake at night, if you know what I mean. And is often privy to that. Now, Paul Bates was offered cocaine at this party by Gurumit and people there. He had work the next day. He wasn't going to do it anyway, and he left the party early. So his mate, Mad Pete's still there, and they're all having this thing. Now, after Paul Bates has gone, Andy Saxon, because he's making really good friends with Mad Pete, yeah, making really good friends. They're having a bit of a chat, and he says, Pete, can I tell you something? The mistake he made was Mad Pete and Paul Bates are close friends, you know, so anything he says to Mad Pete, it's going to go back to Paul Bates, the tosser that is Paul Bates. And he says to Mad Pete, do you know what? We're not happy with Paul Bates. We think he's trying to take over the movement. And we're not happy and we're not standing for it. That's it. That obviously got relayed to Mr. Bates, Master Bates. And that's obviously relayed to me back when. But it makes the posts and the constant posting about Mr. Bates, Master Bates, it actually brings it into perspective. And you know, his anger towards him, because he's got a grudge against him anyway. Now everybody's got a grudge against each other. So Andy, before you bring me into things, please, you know, I'd rather you just have a chat with me, mate, first, and just say, look, what's this about this, that, and the other, because that YouTube clip is a load of nonsense, and anybody with half a brain cell will realise that. Anybody with half a brain cell will realise I'm not hope, not hate. For goodness sake, people, I went to jail last year for taking on the establishment, and then I get called hope not hate. It's just absolutely ludicrous. You know, it doesn't bother me because I you know, it means nothing in the grand scheme of things. I just found it interesting that Mr. Saxon's been chirping like a budgerigar the last couple of days, and then I just happened to come across his thing. So that's why I've talked about him today. I'm sure Andy would be prepared to do a drug test just to prove that what I'm saying is absolute rubbish. Well, not what I'm saying, but what I've been told is the case. So that's it. I think this whole thing is going to get more and more clear to everybody as we go through the days, the weeks, and the months, especially when Tommy comes out. Will there be anything left when Tommy comes out? Do you know what? He's going to be pissed. He's been on his holidays and he's going to come out to this. It's a sad state of affairs, really. But can't say we didn't warn you.